Okay, to start off the second assignment demonstrations, this is for the creature collage. We're going to composite together at least 5 elements to make a fantasy creature. The first thing I'm going to do is actually use this program FaceTime to take a quick picture of a kid's drawing. Hello. This is my inspiration. So what I do is I learn how to take a screen grab and get a quick digital image of this. It's a little bit faster, if lower resolution, than taking a digital photo. I hold it up, I hit Command-Shift-4, and that turns my mouse into a little target. Then I can draw a box around where I want to take the picture, the screen grab. It's always good to get a little more than you need. And when I let go of my mouse now, it's going to take the screen grab. So it's a mirror image, so it's a little tricky to get it in there. There we go. And then it's going to appear right on the desktop as a PNG. You can double click that, it will open it up in preview. That allows you to rotate it, get it to the right orientation. It also allows you to flip it. So because it's a mirror image, I might actually want it the way it was drawn, which is this way. And then we have the adjust color tools, which are extremely helpful. They're kind of a simpler guide of image processing. And Photoshop is a better tool, but this is a very quick, handy tool all in one place. A little bit like Lightroom. And so what I'm going to do first is just do auto levels to bring all the histogram, optimize the blacks and the whites. I might play with the contrast a little bit just to really help it show off what I like. I might play with the color temperature a little bit, make it a little bit warmer in this case. And then my favorite is just this sharpness scale. All it does is increase the contrast between pixels that it detects are contrasted enough to be an edge. It does a pretty nice job. So this is the sketch that's just my inspiration. And this one just was done by my son, Vaughn. And it's this weird kind of rock cybernetic monster thing. Should be fun to create. Okay, then I'm going to save it. And it's still just a screenshot, but this is my inspiration right here. Maybe I'll retitle it Creature Collage Inspiration. Now it's kind of like a collage because we're taking separate elements, putting them together. But in order to look more believable, we're really going to be compositing those layers and blending them into each other with textures. So now I'm going to open this up with Photoshop because I want to do a sketch. And the sketch is the first thing you're required to submit when you submit this assignment. And that's because just like with our fantasy landscape, I need to see that you're controlling the ideas, that you're not just modifying something that already exists. And so I'm going to make a new blank layer on top of this. Maybe I'll take this opacity down a little bit. And with a very easy to see color, maybe a blue, like a blue line, I'm going to do my basic shape drawing. Now you could do this just by drawing in your sketchbook as well. You could do it on tracing paper. There we go. Maybe that's a little thick. I want to do it on the layer on top. So the first thing I'm looking at, the big basic shapes. Instead of looking for that big circle, I'm actually trying to figure out the anatomy. I'm going to use this sketch to figure out the skeletal structure, what would make sense for this. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually draw what's called the cranium, which is the fishbowl kind of circle that all vertebrate creatures have around their brain. So that's where the cranium is. Then his mandible, his jaw, is kind of in front of that. So it's kind of turtle-like or reptile-like, and maybe that's something I'll use. Its eyes are right here. So kind of front-facing eyes, more like an owl, but not many not many animals have forward-facing eyes. Maybe a monkey. It's got these great horns, or maybe they're feathers, whatever I want to interpret. I think I'll interpret them more as horns. So if one's on that side, then the other is on this side. So it connects through the cranium. And then we have a neck coming from the cranium, like that, but that neck connects to a spine. And I have to see what that spine is doing. So that feels about as believable as I can make this spine. What's fun about working from kids' drawings is they have no sense of like proper weight or anatomy, so we get these really outlandish designs we have to make work. Okay, now the rib cage. Well, even before the rib cage, let's get the collarbone. So he has one joint over there for his shoulder, the other shoulder's over here. So that's the collarbone. The rib cage is this huge, huge thing, but it has to still connect with that collarbone. So he has this long neck, very thick neck, but that's just the spine I'm worried about. Allows him to hunch over like this. Then he's going to have this big pelvis. He's going to have one leg coming out like this. And then the other leg on the other side coming out like this. So I have to modify his drawing a little bit so it feels more believable. Okay. I might decide to I could do a tail or something, but I kind of like how clean it is without. And now the big reason he has such a huge torso and a huge rib cage is to support these huge arms. So one arm is coming out here, here's the elbow, this enormous hand, the other arm reaching out. Now, how do you know where the elbows go? To be supported by the rib cage and by the skeleton, the elbow has to be able to line up with the bottom of the rib cage. So on an arc, the elbow should line up with that rib cage. You see how that works? So if he was standing straight up and his arms were hanging down, the elbows would line up with the bottom of that rib cage. So the larger the rib cage, the longer the arms. Now the forearms, this is where it gets a little ridiculous, but it's fun. Huge forearms, enormous kind of claw-like hands. Just get the basic shapes there. And everyone's always wondering how to get new kind of fantasy creature designs, especially for ideas that have been done in so many different ways, like dinosaurs or dragons. Just any kind of big monster, Godzilla kind of monsters, Pacific Rim kind of monsters. And they look to insects and they look to the animal kingdom, but it might be interesting to look to kids' drawings a little bit as well. Just unique silhouettes. It's all about the shape. So now I don't really need the kid sketch anymore underneath it. I just need this. And I'm inspired by the kid sketch. And I think, okay, what does this need to be more grounded? Well, I think I need bigger feet, right? It's funny how those work, but there's no way that's going to support all of this forward weight. So maybe I need to change these to be more like grounded, big triangular plank feet. More massive, more grounded. Now it's looking like kind of a Greek titan, which I like. And I might give thumbs the idea of, well, no, that's too human. So no, I'll keep it pure. Okay, now between this and this, I have an idea. Take this opacity back up. I have an idea of what kind of animals I might use, and I want to put that into my sketch. So I'll make that on a new layer. I'll do it in a new color just so you can see clearly. Some ideas. So what could this huge back be? Well, I could have a lot of scales and bumps here. So what could I get reference from for that along the back of the spine? And I think, well, maybe an armadillo. maybe porcupine, spiny porcupine. Something that just takes up a lot of space. I'm thinking of that one dinosaur with the plated back. There might be some photorealistic reference I can use for that. But any kind of plated back creature. Now what about for the head? So I was thinking maybe a tortoise for this kind of mandible cranium shape. Maybe some kind of beak though instead, from some sort of raptor, like a hawk or a falcon. And the eyes, maybe monkey eyes. Or ape eyes, chimpanzee eyes. Just so they're forward facing. And then the horns, my goodness. Let's see, how about, yeah, from a bull, sure. There's so many types of different horns, I'm sure I'll find something I like. Now the difference with this project is that we're choosing our references to look for after we've sketched, instead of basing our sketch on references we've already found. Okay, these big hands, I might use the hands of a sloth or a mole, something that does something really interesting with its hands. A sloth is going to be my primary. See if we have some good hand reference for that. And maybe the arms as well, we'll see. I also want just lots of rock as just a general texture, so rock piles. And then for these kind of grounded feet, I think, elephants make sense. And then maybe grow around that with rocks. So I've got my work cut out for me. Now we only need 5 references in all. And I have to worry about this neck. So this might be more of a turtle neck as well. Cool. So I've got all of these ideas. How am I going to make that work? I'm going to need a lot of references, right? And of course my ideas might change as I find reference. And for the pelvis, what would the lower pelvis be? This might belong to a bear. There's just lots of things I'll have to find. But now with this sketch, I kind of know what I'm looking for. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a new layer on top of the sketch. I'm going to fill that in with pure white. So do edit, fill, white at 100%. And now I have the sketch that I can upload. Save that as your creature collage sketch. And because you're uploading it, you might as well put your name in there. I'll save it as a PSD for now. Of course, I'll change it to a JPEG before I upload it. I'll go ahead and put my name on the inspiration drawing as well. Keep everything nice and organized. Okay, now I'm going to close Photoshop for a while. And I'm going to start my references. So I'm not going to record finding all the references necessarily, but I'll get it started for you. I'm going to start a new folder. I'm going to call that folder assignment 2 reference. I'm going to do a Google image search. And I'll start with, let's open this up in preview so it's just there for me. I can remember what I was thinking. Put it in the bottom corner here. I can start with a tortoise head. And now I want to limit my search options to 6 megapixels or bigger. And that should be large enough for printing at the size we want. Okay, so I'll start the next demo once we're done with all the referencing.